This reminds me of one of the DEVA meetings we had where I tried to use my laptop to run the computer and the show and the slides on a 15-inch screen. It was Sandra was there. Oh my God, where am I? So, hey, thank you everybody for joining us for the February DEVA meeting. And before we get started, just to remind everybody, this is going to be recorded. We put this on our DEVA YouTube webpage. If you don't want to be recorded, just turn your video off. And you can always change your name as well, participation. When you get in, you're going to be muted. In fact, when we go through this, kind of might want to keep your mute on just so you can not have any background chatter in case some people walk in the room. You know what, this is going to be the good part. How do I change my slide? Let's see, it should work. So joining us today, actually, Chris Granger is helping me today. Chris is running the computer logistics. Just a little bit of housekeeping news for y'all. I think I kind of already stated this. Keep your audio on mute, but you can go ahead and use the chat to ask questions or make comments along the way. And Chris, if you'll kind of check in that chat room every once in a while, and I'll do the same.
Absolutely, Richard. I'm having trouble hearing you occasionally, so you might want to speak into wherever your mics are a little bit more.
Okay, thanks. Let me fix these guys. Okay, is that a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, I think the guy was twisted and kept getting under my shirt collar. Okay, and just to remind everybody, for the February meeting to kick off 2022, we're going to have a little shortened agenda. Chris and I and some other board members got together and we talked, and we had a lot of follow-up on items, but we didn't get a lot of kickback as well from some of the people we're talking to, or the items just weren't ready yet. So we thought we'd kind of turn this into a couple of things. One, do our hot topics and let people bring up some recent news they want to bring about regarding EVs. Guy Hall has offered to tell us what's going on with the new California building codes regarding EV infrastructure, especially for multi-unit housing. I'm kind of guessing that's what you're going to talk about, Guy. We're going to have a section on and this is the planning section. So the people out there, we'd really like to hear what you'd like to see DEVA do this next year. Right now, this is going to be a virtual meeting sometime. Well, we'll get into that when we get to the planning stuff. I think we're going to be seeing if we want to meet in person sometime and kind of keep our fingers crossed, but we'll have to see. And then at the end, we'll do our regular EV 101. So if you're new to EVs or you want to bring up topics and ask questions, that will be the opportunity to do that. So Chris, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to say thank you again for everybody who's joining us tonight. Cole Davis is here to support DEVA in its work in the community. And then DEVA, the team of DEVA volunteers are always a big part of all of our planning for our Ride Cool EV adoption activities for the year. And you'll be hearing more about that probably at our next meeting as we sort of complete the planning. Richard, I guess I could talk under hot topics a little bit about some of our upcoming events that are part of our planning for 2022.
Should we do any introductions, go around at all? Or
Sure. I think we have a small enough group that I think that would be great. Usually we ask everybody to drop their name and the kind of vehicle they have and where they're from in the chat. So we'd still love to have that record, but that would be a great thing for everyone. If you want to just take turns, you can turn on your microphone and I don't know if you want to call on people, Richard.
okay, I'm going to use my screen. So Charles, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm the East Davis resident for about 35 years, and I am in the market for an electric car. And which is why I'm attending this meeting. I want to learn as much as I can prior to making a purchase, but I added solar panels in the last 6 months and a sub electrical panel inside my garage to be ready for a charging station. I've gone that far. Now I just got to decide what to buy. And I'm having a tough time because it just seems like there's more and more choices coming up all the time, and they're down the road and I want something now. Anyway, that's all. That's all for me.
Okay. Well, we'll bring that topic up at the last one too. And at time, because I think that'd be a good time to review what's out there for people on the line here. So and then we'll go through that. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I gotta move my little screen over there. Good. Yvonne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Yvonne Marsh, in Davis, South Davis. I'm actually in Jamaica right at this moment. So I come down 3 or 4 times a year. This is where I was born. I have a Tesla Model S, a 2016, and we've had several Volts. Gave my grandson one. We're looking to buy a Mustang Mach-E. They look quite good and, drive very well. And they're much more interesting to look at than the Tesla 3s.
Right. Good. We'll have to keep you, when we get to the EV 101, we'll have to talk to you and Charles and I can.
Okay.
But I've been looking at the Ford as well.
Yeah.
Jonathan and Sandra.
Hi. So we are down to a 1-car household and we have a Bolt EV. We just drove it from Sacramento all the way to New Mexico about 2 weeks ago because we moved out here.
Wow.
That's us.
Right.
And he just installed solar panels on the house. So
Yeah, way more panels than I need.
but
You're just getting started.
Yeah.
Good. You did that yourself?
Oh no, I had a solar installer do it.
Okay. Well, I was going to invite you to come to my house next.
Oh.
Yeah, I've done it. Well, great. Good. And anyway, we'll get on to it. I just say you got one Bolt and you got all the way from Davis to New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'll be an adventure to hear about.
So I'm going to encourage us all to be a little shorter in our presentations, but so we can do the whole agenda tonight. So please, your name and where you're zooming in from and what kind of EV you have.
Okay, let's go with Patrick.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Loud and clear.
I live in Walnut Creek. I did participate in last year's Drive Electric Week in Davis, and my wife and I really enjoyed it. And so I'm anxious to hear about the EV showcase here that's coming up. We'd definitely be interested in coming up for that. We have a Hyundai Kona, and our next trip is going to be the 1st of March. We're going to drive down to Palm Springs. So that'll be an interesting trip, I think.
Great. Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, Peter Mackin. I'm the lead advisor for SAC EV, and I have a Tesla Model S, and my wife has a Volvo XC40 Recharge. Oh, and I'm calling in from Placer County.
And you're a SAC EV board member too, I think, right?
Correct.
Important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lead advisor is the nom de whatever for president.
Yeah. Okay. Afshan?
Hi, so my name is Afshan. I'm a researcher at UC Davis, and I'm working on EVs, basically bidirectional charging of EVs. So I'm looking for like how people talk about or think about EVs.
Right. Do you have an EV?
No, I don't have.
Okay. Well, that can be changed. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks for coming, Afshan. Ash.
Hey, everybody. Probably heard my name a few times, but I've been participating in these events for a few months, but starting a conversion business as well as a consulting on the EV side business in Dixon. So it's welcome to be here. Live in Woodland. Did all my research at UC Davis back in the Dr. Frank days, but I think I'm down to 15 cars, but only one of them is an EV, 2014 Fiat 500e. But yeah, looking forward to hosting some presentations with working with Guy on some of that stuff in the future. And then hopefully I'll have a grand opening soon. So I'm going to be having a four-wheel drive dynamometer so we can start seeing what the horsepower figures are on some of your EVs and start getting some club events over there as well too. So looking forward to some future events.
Great. Bruce Fairbanks.
Yeah, my name is Bruce. I live in Midtown Sacramento and don't currently have an EV, don't currently have a car, but I'm hoping to purchase something towards the end of this year. The Fisker Ocean looks really nice, but probably out of my price range. So we'll see what's available at that time.
Yeah. Good. Johan.
I'm joining from Davis, and I still try to take that picture that's going to change the world and would welcome any ideas that exist. I don't own a car, but I can use a car.
Wow.
And he's a recent CNN star. Check it out. There's a link on our Facebook page today to a story on CNN featuring Johan.
Good. Yeah, I started watching that video too, so maybe at the guy sent it to us. But Bruce.
Yes, hi, Bruce DeTerra here in Davis. We have a 2017 Volt with 50,000 miles, bought it new and very happy with it. We also recently purchased a Volkswagen ID4 2021 model, and we're having some electrical issues. So we're kind of going back and forth with Volkswagen America on how that's going to get resolved. It's refusing to charge. So we're a little bit concerned on that. Anyway, happy to be part of the group.
All right, thanks for joining us. Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Haney. I'm on the Cool Davis board and I live in Davis. We have a Tesla Model Y and we drove it to Maine and back this summer.
Wow. Okay, there's a story in that. When we get someplace here, we have to hear that. Oh, it's true. Actually, I think I've heard your story. I heard it at the showcase. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm working on writing an article for Cool Davis. I'm just slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. Jerry.
Jerry, did you hear?
Oh. Jerry, can you hear us? If not, let's go on to Rick. Rick Edwards.
Yeah, Rick Edwards. I live in East Wenatchee, Washington. I have a sister in Davis, and we own a 2019 Leaf.
Welcome.
Hello.
We have I think still Yvonne still holds the prize for longest Zoom tonight. So.
Oh, wow. Katrina.
Hey guys, happy Wednesday. I'm Katrina. I have a 2011 Volt with 142,000 miles on it. So keeping up the party. I forgot your other questions. Oh, I'm in West Sac. So here we go.
Okay. Megan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Montalto. I work for Placer County and helping them prepare their EV readiness guide and EV streamlining ordinance, and just wanted to check out what y'all have going on. Also a member of the SAC PEV. I currently personally don't have an EV, looking at purchasing one in the next 2 years.
Yeah. Monica.
Welcome, Megan.
Yeah, welcome. Monica.
I'm Monica and I live in Penryn. And I do not have an EV, but I'm looking around, would like to buy one eventually. That's it.
All right.
Hello.
Masay, did I get that right? Masay, did you want to introduce yourself? You might be muted. No, it doesn't look like you're muted on mine. Let's move on to Susan Pelican.
Hi, my name is Susan. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, I'm Susan Pelican. I live west of Woodland. I have a 21 Bolt with 7,500 miles. I just took it in for its first service or whatever you want to call it. And I'm delighted not to have to buy gas or change the oil. And I leased the Bolt for 3 years before I bought this one. But Costco gave a $7,000 rebate along with a few other things. And so I rushed out and picked one up.
Right. And then Jerry, did we ever hear from you?
Not yet. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, so I'm in Santa Clara. I'm the president of the Silicon Valley chapter of the Electric Vehicle Association, and I drive a 2002 RAV4 EV that was factory made, and it's got 58,000 original miles on it.
Wow.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is there anyone that I didn't?
Say.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, sorry, I think I got my technical difficulties figured out. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thank you for having me. My name is Masai Betru. I live in Arden Arcade. I currently drive a 2019 plug-in Sonata, and I am moving on to a 2021 ID4. I have a reservation put in and hopefully picking it up this summer. Thank you.
Right. Okay, with that, let's move on to our first topic. And that's basically it's hot topics. We usually do each time. It's time for us to share EV news. And the only thing I'll say, maybe to kick off the top of this, is it looks like there's going to be a lot of new EV models hitting, coming out this year. I wish they were all out right now, but besides Hyundai and Kia are going to come out with new cars. The Ford Mach-E is just recently, well, it's been out there a little bit as well, but there's a number that are actually coming at the end of the year too. So looks like it's going to be exciting times. We can actually get out there. Maybe Guy, would you like to just start off, tell us all the work that's being done on the California building codes and the purpose?
Did Guy make it back into the room? He left for briefly. He said he'd be back in 15 minutes. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see him.
I can give an update from our last meeting. There was some presentations given on e-bikes, and we said we were going to then follow up with what's happening with electric bike share here in Davis. And we were hoping for a presentation this month, but we're probably going to be waiting until our April meeting for that. The City of Davis and the university are working together on a joint contract with Lime Bike, which is the provider in Sacramento, currently through the SACOG program, just like Jump was contracted in the past. And so we're anticipating sometime in maybe the late spring, early summer, the launch of new bike share in Davis, which will be very exciting to have that back. So that's the update on e-bike share in the community.
We'll look forward to that in some of our next meetings. It'll be exciting. Well, if guys are back, why don't we jump to our planning topic? And this is one we really wanted to get input from our membership here. Tell us what they'd like to hear so we can actually, usually to get items for our well, actually DEVA meetings, we actually start out about 2 months in advance. And if we start less than that, you know, it's kind of hard to get people to come up and agree to make presentations and see if they've got time. So this is kind of an opportunity for you guys to tell us what you really like to hear. And one of the things I put in that last bullet is a time to have another EV showcase. We had this back in October. I was a little hesitant at first, and Chris Granger kind of talked me into doing it. actually talked me into planning it, and we got started. And I tell you, once we got started planning it, and we got a large number of people willing to bring their EVs and show them. And we had a blast. We had about 300 people that showed up. It was mass and social distancing, and we had, thanks to some of the planning that Chris and some of the volunteers did. Robert and Barbara were there. Actually, quite a few people were there. But we actually had a pretty good time, and it was so fun to get out there and talk about our cars, or talk about new cars that people had and drove up in. So anyway, that's something else. But other than that, we talked. I'd like to hear from those out there that kind of tell us what you'd like to see for this next year. They don't all jump at one time.
One of our opportunities coming up is in April. It is the National Plug in America programs sponsor local events during April as part of what they call National Drive Electric Earth Week, or Earth Day, but it's really Earth Month, because they'll support events all through the month of April. And so that's one of the things that we're looking at doing. And then there have been many years in the past where DEVA has participated in two aspects of Picnic Day. And the University of California at Davis is planning at this point on holding Picnic Day. We've been invited to be in the parade like past years, and also to participate by hosting an EV show and tell on the bricks in one location on campus. And so those are two things that might happen the week of Earth Week, which I believe the Picnic Day event is on the 23rd of April. And so one of the things that we need to figure out as a group is how many people are interested in participating in an in-person event. And again, Picnic Day, the parade is one thing where you're wandering down the street in your cars alongside bicyclists and other people from the many working groups of Cool Davis. And then there's the showcase and ride and drive events. And those are more one-on-one, like our other ride and drive events where we're featuring local owner cars and working with dealers to provide ride and drives. And that can be a little bit more up close and personal, and therefore still with COVID around, we maybe a little more risky, although we felt like we had a pretty successful event in October with creating clear boundaries and ways for people to feel safe and yet have great conversations with the people who participated. And I know some of you participated as just showing up to get information in that event, and some of you were on site as owners presenting your cars. And so we'd love to hear from you about that experience and what you think about starting up with those kinds of activities in the spring.
So Chris, when did you want to hear from us? Like now, or are you going to send out a survey? Oh, okay. Well, I'm willing to do it anytime. Pretty much anything. I'm not scared of COVID, not anymore. so I'll do pretty much anything as long as it's legal.
Yeah, I'd certainly be happy to do that.
Right. Patrick, did you bring your Kona when you were there at the show?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that was just a wonderful experience. Just absolutely wonderful. Yeah. Can't stop talking about it.
Yeah. I had the same feeling when I left.
Did anybody on the call that's new to EVs, did anybody come out to the October event? Do we have any of those folks here today?
I did. Are you talking about the car show at the farmers market location?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. What? So was that your first time seeing? And
yeah, it was excellent because I can go from one model type to another and talk to the owners and their experiences is perfect.
Awesome. Would you recommend it then to another new EV?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, that's the quickest way you can just make some comparisons. And if you can talk to the owners and hear their experiences, you know, that's really powerful. You know, so much easier doing that than sitting and trying to get information off the World Wide Web about it, the internet.
Great,
So
thanks.
we showed our car and it was really interesting. I saw some things that I didn't know about EVs, you know. I think as an EV owner, I thought it was interesting to see all the other cars and other vehicles, you know, like EV motorcycles and bicycles. It's pretty fascinating.
One of the things that I still could use some help on is how to charge your car if you're driving to Maine. I don't drive any further than Grass Valley.
Oh, it was so easy.
Where I bought my car.
No, it's because it's Tesla. It's hooked up to this supercharger network. And you just plug into the navigation system where you're going, and it tells you where you can stop and how long you need to charge. And it was easy. It added maybe on a 12-hour driving day, it added 2 hours of extra time within that 12 hours.
Did you do a particular one like EVGO or something like that, or whatever there was?
They were all Tesla chargers, and each charge was anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, if you don't have a Tesla, I think it's more difficult.
Yeah, I would guess that, but I think it might be getting easier. Who knows?
So if you don't have a Tesla, you just have to be more attentive to where you're going to charge. It takes more planning. So for the Tesla, it'll tell you where to go. But if you're driving something else, you have to decide for yourself where you need to charge. Unless you have some cars. We did run into someone with a Mercedes, and she said that it tells her where to go to charge as well. Yeah.
But there are apps as well that can help with this.
Yeah, so this is a really good time to have another showcase, given all the charging options, new vehicles coming out. There's the Electrify America, there's EV Go, there's the Tesla. There are lots and lots of networks coming out. So I don't think the general population actually knows about all this and all the options on vehicles. So, you know,
yeah, it would be really helpful to have some kind of information on that, or at least a link.
Thanks, because actually we're thinking, you know, we have all of those services in Davis, and we're actually thinking about maybe having a meeting where we kind of just cruise around the community together and visit those, you know, on-site devices, and also talk at length about charging. And so that's one of the ideas that we have for an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because for a lot of people, it's a real question. You know, can I do more than go to work and come home with my car?
I would suggest we also pick this topic up in the 101 session, because I think we can provide some resources in the chat for everybody, and more details.
Thank you.
I'm kind of glad you brought that up, because you're just charging networks. I have like about 5 networks I belong to, but there are only like 2 I actually use. But that would be a good topic for another meeting too, to kind of go through each of the, you know, the pluses and minuses, each of those. But
yeah, that would be helpful to me.
And I think for the timid, that once the veil is lifted, it really is quite easy. You know, it's an easy thing, but you just have to get over that first hump. So
The only difference between us and the gas and looking for gas stations is that it's a little harder to find the signs along the highway that says there's EV charging at the next exit, because it's public signage and not, you know, marketing signage with giant towers and flashing lights. So, but you know, all the cool apps that are out there now, there are great ways with phone devices, and as many people have said, actually, you know, part of the app of the car, you can look up charging that is close to you as you're driving.
Great. I think this Jonathan Hemingway thing about an overview on how we charge using the Bolt from South in Mexico, you know, just people's experience. Got it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You just volunteered Jonathan for our next show.
Presentation.
Yeah. How I got
He
from Davis.
volunteered. He volunteered on the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I saw Sandra behind him pointing the finger at him saying, yeah, this guy. Yeah. Okay. Anything else anybody would like to talk on what they'd like to see in this next year?
Yeah, I'm interested in, and hopefully this is not a real old topic, but buying versus leasing cars and the pros and cons of that and how it varies from one model to another, one company to another.
Right. I think that's actually a really good topic.
And throw in this new thing about subscriptions. Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is between renting and a subscription, but apparently there's a difference.
Yeah, cost. Subscriptions are much more expensive.
Ah, okay.
Oh, well, Peter, I'm going to have to ask you offline someday about what a subscription is, because I hadn't heard about that.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You subscribe for as long as you want, and then you cancel. So you pay a premium because you can quit at any time.
Ah, okay.
Well, and I shouldn't say any time. Depends on the terms of the subscription, but.
Right. Oh, Peter, you had your hand up before. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
Just about the charging. I would suspect that, and maybe Guy can confirm this, but pretty much all new cars, I think, in the nav system, if they have a nav system, and most of them should, they're gonna be able to tell you where the chargers are. And if you don't have that feature, then there's a couple of apps in the chat there, Plug Share, or that Better Route Planner. And so what I do, well, I guess both my cars have built-in charger finders, but yeah, I usually just use Plug Share, and I pre-plan the route, and then I confirm it with the car once I get in it. So it's not that hard.
Okay. Yeah, Susan, another part of that is that if you get an EV, they're going to have one, I'm thinking Android Auto or Apple's equivalent to it, and you can just plug that guy in and turn on your EV charging network apps. So even if you don't have a dedicated navigation tool, so yeah, we'll talk about that.
The irony for those of you that may have seen signs on the freeway that say charging station, in the next exit, those really are not for EV drivers.
Ooh. Because
EV drivers, through their apps and either through the car or through their phone, they know where the charging stations are. We may have already planned that. Those signs are really awareness building for all the non-EV owners.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, because I would ask how many EV owners here in this group would be interested in those signs, and probably get zero.
Yeah, I wouldn't depend on it ahead of time, hoping there was a sign there.
They're expensive to put a sign like that up.
Yeah.
But it's being paid for essentially out of awareness dollars.
Yeah.
I wanted to share a potential topic. On our drive, we met a Rivian, one of the people that helps find the location for new charging spots for Rivian. They actually drive out to all these different places that are charging deserts and talk to gas stations or hotels and work with them to figure out contracts to put in charging stations. So they are the ones that choose the sites and work with the businesses. And that might be interesting to sort of see the behind the scenes of how the charging locations are chosen.
You might even couple that with someone that's worked with Rivian on those charging state locations.
That
And
is,
the Adopted Charger. Folks, I don't know how many people have heard of Adopted Charging, but it's a nonprofit to get chargers put in parks and mostly, I guess, natural state and federal parks. And I know they're working with Rivian to put some of the chargers in with regard to that. But we can get, I just want to blank on her name, but we can get, I'm sure we'll get her to be able to come and talk if you wanted. Might be nice to couple those two together.
Okay.
Hey, you guys. I just got dinner served.
Wow. Yeah.
Robert, I know you and Barbara aren't alone.
Yeah.
And Yvonne has her glass of wine.
Oh, I shouldn't, but
And they brought me pizza, and they brought me pizza. So
Awesome.
Hey.
So, yeah.
So are there more topics that people want to share?
Yeah, I have another one. This is Charles Pickett. It has to do with the longevity of batteries. One of my biggest concerns is buying a car that the battery dies out on that much faster than my expectations or other cars. Is there any good data out there now on that can tell us the quality, longevity of the various batteries in these cars? Because my understanding is that the battery cost is probably half the car.
Not anymore. No, not anymore.
Okay.
They're going down and down and down and down and down in prices. But as far as longevity goes, as long as the car has a decent battery management system and cooling system, so basically anything but an old Nissan Leaf, you should be fine. Absolutely fine. At least my Tesla is 8 years old, and I've only lost 5% of my range.
That's excellent.
Yeah. So and I think all other cars are very similar.
Do you think that that question of longevity sort of couples with the other concern people have is what are we doing with those batteries after they are done for a car? And so it might just make an interesting topic for a presentation for the group.
I have a question for Peter. This is Julie. How did you find out that you only lost 5% of your battery?
Oh, okay. So when the car was new, it had 265 miles rated range. So now if I plug it in and charge it to 100%, I have 254 miles of rated range. So I just divided 254 by 265 and boom. And actually it might be a little less than 254 now, but last time I charged it to 100%, that's about what I got.
Cars don't say full or empty. They say they give you a number of miles range at any particular time.
Right.
So this would be a good topic though for one of our future meetings. I actually looked into some studies, but this is back, I think 4 or 5 years ago when frankly, there was the Leaf, there was the Tesla Model S, and there was the Volt coming. Actually, the Volt was on there, the Chevrolet Volt hybrid, plug-in hybrid. And the Tesla and the Volt, the Chevrolet battery actually and they charted it over about a 9-year period, had almost hardly any loss. They were still at, I think it was like between 92 and 95%. And then of course the Leaf, which didn't have good battery management and was air-cooled battery, it had significant losses. And I believe the Nissan has changed their design, haven't they? Hopefully.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, those old Leafs actually, it would be very generous to say that they had air-cooled batteries because there was no, it's just basically convection. Just let the heat rise off the battery pack and hope that it dissipated. There was no, open vents to have airflow through it or fan to force air over it. is nothing. It was just basically convective heat rise. So, so that's why some of those batteries didn't last very long, is because you would be driving in Arizona when it's 115 outside, and then you'd stop and you'd DC fast charge it, and it would get even hotter. And so, yeah, so that's why they gave up the Ghost. Some of them did. But if you treat them nice, even an old Nissan Leaf, if you treat it nice and you just charge it like level 2 all the time and don't charge it all the way up, I mean, it could still last quite a long time. Because it's really the heat that kills batteries. It's not the usage.
Good. Well, maybe we'll look into that. I mean, there's got to be new studies since the last time I looked. And a lot of these engineering departments at universities, I'm sure, have looked into this.
Yeah.
Just to reassure people. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, just as an aside, Guy and I attended a presentation, although I think Guy missed the good part. Some professor from Canada who just basically his life's work is the lithium-ion batteries. He's talking about ways that you can actually get like 5 million kilometers, I think, out of the battery. They've tested them. I mean, they didn't test them for 5 million miles, but they did discharge, and they calculated loss of life over those discharge cycles. And they estimate 5 million kilometers out of, if you build the battery with a certain what is it, the stuff, the liquid between the anode and cathode. If you use the right mixture, yeah, they can last for almost forever. So, but most new cars don't have that type of battery in them, but they still last a long time. But I mean,
and most of the automotive manufacturers design their vehicles for 100,000 miles or 10 years. And so in that time frame for electrics, they assume under normal circumstances that you'll have a 20% decay. So an 80% kind of life at the end of life is what they call the EOL. And so that curve is generally about 20% decayed. So under normal circumstances.
Yeah. But again, if you've got a decent cooling system in the battery, my experience is you get a lot more than that. Way less than 20%.
Keep in mind that even if you had 20 or 30, even 40% degradation of the battery, that doesn't mean you're going to junk the car. That car, if it was started at say 200, say the lower end, say at 200-mile range, and now it's down at say what 120 or so, that still works for a lot of people. They use it for around town for short trips. It may not work for you anymore, but it's easy to turn around and resell it. And you compare that to having a gas car and you decide to sell because you're afraid the transmission's about ready to blow. That's a different kind of a nightmare. So anyway, even at that point, even after losing range, they're still valuable cars.
Yeah, and then even after there's not much left in it for the battery as a pusher of the car, you can remove the battery and use it for something else, like power walls or stationary storage for utilities or other things. So you can get a second use out of the batteries, and then even after that's done, then they can be recycled. There's a lot of companies that are looking into ways of recycling them. I guess that what's that guy? The guy that used to work at Tesla, JB Stubble. He's got a company he founded that's looking at recycling lithium-ion batteries. So it's because there will be a supply. There will be a lot of lithium-ion batteries that need to be recycled.
So speaking of power, one of the things that's coming up is that we're at a transition point that a lot of EVs are coming out. A lot of people are going to be buying them. And is the grid ready to handle all that?
Good topic.
Good.
It's something to discuss. And also a lot of the utilities are changing their rate structures. So when you charge, it's really going to affect how much you pay for your electricity to power your car. So the dynamics are underfoot, and it seems that there's some sides of the whole equation that are working to try to make it more difficult in order to make it less feasible for all of us to be purchasing these EVs.
Yeah, I can give you the 30-second answer about the grid, though. The grid will have no trouble. none. Because there's so
Bless
much.
you.
Well,
Yeah,
so
well, because
rather-
because I'm a power system engineer. I work with generation interconnections. Basically, that's my life. And there are so many requests to interconnect to the grid that the grid can't handle all the interconnection requests. So, you know, there will be plenty of generation available to charge EVs. But your other point about rate structure and that sort of thing, yes, that's certainly an issue that.
Well,
Yeah,
and having
so-
the infrastructure in all the right places too to manage the load. I would suggest that we put that down as a topic for bringing in some speakers. I think that's a great idea. And then, are there any other topics that
Well,
people would like to hear about?
So on that, on my other side of the work life, some of the stuff we're working on is electrifying the freight system. And that is going to have huge draw on the electrical system. So there's going to be the passenger car and the freight system, which would be like big rigs competing for the same electricity. So there's going to be some competition.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And Katrina's still on the line here and she's doing a lot of work around trucking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bruce,
she's
you're
the
speaking my
expert.
language. I do. I help transit agencies do ICT compliance. So I'm helping a lot of transit agencies go electric or fuel cell at their discretion. And so I do understand the the necessity of looking at just whole gobs of power going to such specific locations is going to be really interesting.
Well, exactly. And there's a new legislation out in the state, Senate Bill 671, that is requiring the production of a report to talk about how we're going to make electric corridors or hydrogen, one or the other, EV corridors or zero emission corridors rather, for freight across the state. So that's going to be a big lift, and the passenger cars are competing in the same space.
Yeah, but one thing I would point out is that, you know, the most passenger cars are going to be charged at night. And so then there's capacity available usually, or they'll be charged at work when there's the sun shining and there's plenty of electricity from solar panels. The issue is if you're it's just the vehicles that are on road trips where they need fast chargers and they really can't wait to get, you know, they can't wait for the evening to charge. They have to charge right away. And then they're competing with the trucks. Yes, I agree with that. But, you know, with trucks though, you know, long distance trucking, if you're hauling heavy loads, you know, battery electric trucks might not be the best solution. You might be better off with hydrogen because then you don't have the tractor doesn't weigh as much. So that means you can carry more payload, which means you can make more money each trip. So hydrogen could be a good option for, you know, class 8 trucks and things like that.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that.
Right.
And the other place for hydrogen would be aviation or marine locomotive, but it's certainly not in the light duty vehicle space.
Yeah, I've heard there might be some issues with hydrogen in aviation, but yeah, other options, other, you know, land-based transportation, yeah, or sea-based.
Good. You know, I noticed I was looking at the chat too, and it looks like Jerry, you posted something about. I guess there's going to be a presentation here on February 19th about EV battery repurposing. Are you there, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I saw that in the chat, and if anybody wants to pull up the chat, he's put a link here to the actually the Zoom address too, I guess. You want to check into that.
Yeah, it's a week from this Saturday, and this company is looking what to do with the batteries when they're no longer suitable for use in a car, but I think you can use them for solar backup and other things. And also previously mentioned, JB Straubel's got this company, Redwood Materials, up in Nevada, working on recycling batteries from cell phones and laptops and cars and reclaiming lithium and cobalt and copper and all sorts of other materials. And then turning them into new batteries with Panasonic.
Good. Well, thanks for the reference. We'll check into that. How about something, I'd like to hear about too, and actually, I'm pretty set on this. It's home charging and how to set up a home charger. When I did it, I just jumped into it. But I was lucky because my home had a wire that went from my panel right into a conduit, went through the wall and was behind a box. It didn't have any receptacles put in or breakers, but
You weren't lucky. That
Yeah.
was by design. That was by code back from 2015.
it was actually coded in, I think, probably the mid 1990s, because my house was built in 99. So
Okay, well
in
then
Davis. So
Yeah.
we're in Davis. So
Yep.
of course.
yeah. So
We
I
put it in our green code early on.
yeah, but you're right. I wasn't luck. It was, they put it in the green code. And I remember, so this is back when I got my first EV, which was a Nissan Leaf. And I told my wife, well, let's see what's behind that panel there. That little plate. There's supposed to be an EV setup. So, sure enough, there was the wiring. And most of the conduit was there, but it was pretty easy. But I kind of wondered, maybe this might be a topic for especially people who are interested in buying an EV for the first time, and costs and ease of installing.
Yep. We can get an action electrician in it to talk about that if we like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and in actuality, I mean, if you're fairly handy with basic tools and you're not scared of electricity,
And
you
not
can do it
scared of
yourself.
240 volt electric.
Well, you're supposed to turn the circuit breakers off, guy. You're not supposed to work on live wires.
No. Putting a new circuit breaker in your panel.
Well, you
That'd be
can, I
cost-
mean, you can trip the main breaker and de-energize the whole panel. Most electricians don't do that, but you can if you don't want to touch the, if you want to be doubly safe, turn everything off.
Good.
We also could put with that maybe a talk about really sort of understanding your choices regarding rates, whatever they might be at the time that we actually do that presentation. But looking at EV rate structures and what that means when you're charging at home. And then if you have solar, also the sort of combined advantages.
So is our meeting going to 7 or 7:30?
It's going to 7:30.
Okay.
But I do think we might want to switch back to a guy giving his presentation, unless there's some other ideas for topics that people wanted to share.
Nothing else?
Can I just toss out something real quick?
Sure.
There's a app that you can get, and it's specifically for Nissan Leaf. I don't have it, but I've seen videos on YouTube about it. It's called Leaf Spy. And if you're buying a used Nissan Leaf, or if you've got one on your own and you're kind of curious about how long the batteries are going to last, you can plug this adapter into your diagnostic port and then have that hooked up either to a phone or to a tablet. It has to be Android, I think. And then you can run this app and it will tell you some sort of a figure of merit for your batteries. So you can see, especially if you're trying to buy a used Nissan Leaf, you can kind of take it with you and say, hey, can I plug this into your car and see how good the batteries are? And you can make a decision whether you want to buy it or not, saying, oh, these are shot or these are almost like new.
Right.
Called Leaf Spy.
Leaf Spy.
That sounds like something would be great to have as a device that we could loan out to people.
Yeah, but you have to have some sort of a nerd that knows how to work it.
We got lots of those.
I was going to say that. We got a lot of them here. Yeah.
And part of the good news too is that the CARB is putting together formality on requiring requiring manufacturers to build that into the car.
Right.
So they're
you can
working
see.
on formalizing that as a requirement for electric cars.
That's great, especially if
like-
it's standardized, so it's communicated in the same way across the platforms.
And actually, on that point, Guy, I think Massachusetts, Rhode Island, one of those little states over there is doing something about that too with the right to repair law. I think they made a really stringent rule, so the car companies have to release some data, I heard tangentially. So more info about battery health is hopefully coming, because we all want to know. My little Volt, definitely, I'd love to know.
Great.
Yeah. Katrina, I would say though that Massachusetts might take offense at being called little state, but Rhode Island definitely is little. That's for sure.
All right. Well, when you can fit like a gazillion of them over here, they're little.
Well,
I see we're starting to lose people here.
Yep.
Sorry.
So
and
Guy, maybe you want to give us your update. Are we ready to move along? And
yes, I think so. And we also want to make sure we have time for any of those EV 101 questions at the end.
Right.
And can I share my screen?
Sure. I will unshare mine.
I think you may need to grant the privilege to me as well.
Oh, okay.
I
Kristen,
think
you-
it's open. It's open, Guy. You can go ahead and share screen.
Okay, let me go back. Yes, you are right, Chris. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to do a switch on you a bit. A couple things came out. One is I got behind and couldn't update some of my apartment presentations and building code presentation, but we just got some updates on the EV market in our area. So I thought I would take advantage of that. So it's the, let's see, make too many things open up at the same time here is my,
We can see your screen, but it's not expanded
looks
for the
like-
full to the full slide.
Yeah, it kind of looks like we're seeing the whole.
whole
Oh, wait,
screen.
is this?
Okay, let me
Oh,
stop that and try
There-
again. I thought
We saw your web browser, if that's what you were trying to show.
Yeah, you just hadn't hit the full screen.
There you go.
There we go.
all right. Okay, let me get this. All right, so I'm going to give you an update on, we just got some updates on the market, the EV market data. So I can go through that quickly. I think it's been a while since I've done that with this team. So in the region, we certainly broke past 50,000 EVs. And we're doing about 1,200 a month. And this is the 9 counties surrounding Sacramento, including Yolo. If you're curious on, this is sort of the breakdown by county on cumulative sales. Sacramento County is a heavy hitter, of course, but it's surprising at how many EVs that San Joaquin now is purchasing. And Yolo is still quite, 4,000 plus.
And most of those are in Davis.
Are they? Yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, we're approaching 3,000. So
There you go. So that's kind of a breakdown as of the end of Q3 last year. I didn't update it for the end of the year, but no surprise, Tesla's the dominant force there, followed by Toyota and Chevy, not just the Bolt, but also the Volt, because these are cumulative. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I think this may be the year. This is the most recent year. So the most recent 3 quarters. And you look at the how that breaks down on the type of cars. This is what was a surprise to me. The cars that we were always so worried about were the battery electric vehicles that were under, that were 100-mile range. They are such a tiny sliver now compared to those that are over 200 miles. And you can see the fuel cells. There are a few of those still trickling in, but not much there. Okay. And I like to sometimes look back and see where we were back, 8 years ago when we first got our Nissan Leaf. Even before this, there were no chargers in this region, no fast chargers, period. We paid for the fast charging port on the Nissan Leaf, but there weren't any. Finally, in 2014, we started getting a few. But before that, I thought I was just a fool for having bought that fast charge port. Now look at where we're going. We've got about 100 fast charging stations, not plugs, but fast charging stations in our region. And if you even zoom out even further, you can see there's all the corridors are being covered. And lastly, we know there's a big pickup in purchases, EV purchases, as we saw on one of the early slides. It's being reflected. I don't know how many people actually see ads on TV anymore. I mean, with TiVo and DVRs, you kind of skip past them, but the number of ads on TVs that have plugs in with the cars is dramatically increasing, pardon me. The interesting example is Audi that spent 18 million on EV ads and 53 on non-EV ads, 53 million on non-EV ads, flipped that around completely. And this last year, 54 million on EV ads and 13 million on non-EV ads. And by the way, at the Super Bowl, you certainly were all expecting several EV ads, but there will also be EV chargers will be advertised in the Super Bowl. Shows how far we've come.
So really, Guy, they're going to advertise, you mean charging systems, right? You can install that type of
I'm sorry, what's the question again?
You said chargers, you mean home chargers?
Yep.
Huh. Right.
I think it's home charging. I don't think it's public chargers. But we'll find out when we watch the game on Sunday, right?
It gives me a reason to watch, I guess.
That's the only reason to watch.
Yeah. And then we got a message today. I don't know if this was covered, but I just thought I'd bring that out here. Did this get brought up today, Chris or Richard?
About what?
All right, so the Valley Clean Energy and looking in Yolo County to, excuse me, provide some additional incentives. And they're trying to figure out what the best program is the best way to how to construct their program to provide the greatest adoption impact. And so they had 4 questions that they would like people to weigh in on. And they've got an address here, an email that Sarah would love to hear from people.
I thought, Guy, that they were going to be sending out a survey because I had offered Sierra the opportunity for us to, if she had a link to a survey that we could share it on our lists.
That'd be great.
So,
I talked to her a little bit before this meeting, and she used to work with as part of Cool Davis, I guess, right?
No. It's just that we have a really close working relationship with VCE. So I met Sierra a couple of months ago and we were working on projects together. So
okay. So I presume that these questions will come out in the survey that you'll be sending out. Is that right, Chris?
I was expecting to have seen the survey before now. So I'm going to talk with Sierra next week. So I'll check in with her about that. But I do think they were planning on doing a survey that was kind of going to be jumping off their website. And they're sending it out to their lists. And I had offered that we would put it out to our EV lists as well.
Good. We ought to try to still pass it out to the SAC EV community as well. They can probably.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, so that was a quick run through. Any questions that can answer?
No, but it's really promising seeing some of the numbers you had there. That's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's up really to the right. It's exciting. It's going to be busy. And
what's going to be interesting to see, I mean, you know, even in a place like Davis, where, you know, we're approaching 3,000 vehicles, but there's still 39,000 other vehicles, non-electric or battery hybrid vehicles that are, you know, in the community. And so it's from a greenhouse gas perspective, it's not just about reducing, you know, changing the fuel. It's also about looking at reducing our car usage, and you know, how many cars do we need, and what do we need them for? Can we share them more often? And can we use other kinds of smaller vehicles for shorter, less, you know, shorter trips where we don't need to, you know, run cargo around or lots of people. So
So you may have talked about doing an Earth Day event while I was at the other meeting, but I know in the Sacramento Earth Day event that we're looking at trying to pull in again, the electric bikes along with the electric cars and just really try to promote those as well.
Yeah.
Two things I wanted to also mention. One is, I don't know, did we lose? Oh, John, if anybody doesn't get the SAC EV newsletter, drop me a note and make sure we can get you on the list. But I don't know, you may have seen a week or 2 weeks ago, we were thanking Johan for all his work on photography.
Mhm.
So I don't know, did you see that, Johan, at all? Oh, you're muted.
My internet has not been working since for the last 20 minutes, or I just come back.
Well, your timing was perfect.
Yeah, well.
Just the moment that I wanted to say thank you again, and we did include an appreciation note in the SAC EV newsletter. It's talking about the great work you've done. And I need to also at the same time make an apology to Bruce Fairbanks. I don't know if you're still there, Bruce, but I thought he might have been at one of our SAC EV meetings. I thought we were getting Zoom bombed. And so we were asking whoever had dialed in at that number, to identify themselves, and didn't hear. And I guess Bruce had stepped away. And so we dumped him, and he probably couldn't get back in. So my apologies, Bruce. So I hope you'll join us next time.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And we don't do that in DEVA meetings, so don't worry, Bruce.
Well, I've dumped 2 people so far that I shouldn't have. So now I'm going to stop. We have to change that policy.
So I'm wondering if we might want to switch over to the EV 101. I'm not sure if our new owners or our EV curious are still with us, but to really kind of deal with any questions that people have about EVs in general, and maybe specific questions that you have as you're looking for a new EV.
I think we lost a couple of our EV curious people. They had to leave at 7, so.
How about a question from an old EV user? Old in having an old EV and being old myself. So we rarely charge our car beyond 80% because we have been told that's probably better for its battery health. So on the rare occasions when we do charge to say 100%, the charging begins to go very slowly. And so that much more time is required for each percent of the battery that you gain. I've read that batteries protect themselves by limiting the speed at which they charge as they get toward being more full. What I want to know is, am I paying for more electricity per battery percent charged as I go beyond 80% toward 100? Or is it just taking more time but not using more electricity?
You're probably using less because the charge rate's slower. So the internal losses in the battery and the cables and the wires are smaller. So it's probably actually saving you money, but it is taking longer.
Yeah, keep in mind also that when you charge beyond the 100% mark, that most of that does go into what we call the hotel loads just to keep the lights on. So like your chassis battery, the big lead acid battery that's still there, gets maintained, by that charge too. So it's enough to keep those juices going, but not enough to justify bulk charge what they do on the regular battery. So in the cases above that, most of those systems still draw very little current, and when they go into what they call a constant voltage charge mode, where it just kind of keeps everything happy, keeps everything alive, but just enough to kind of keep the juices going, but not enough to create a bulk charge where you'll see a lot of that cost impact.
Okay.
So I'll just say,
thank you.
in most cases, you're charged by the kilowatt hour, but in some cases you do get charged by the minute. Yeah, but so
Oh, so if you're a commercial, and I don't charge at commercial places anymore because I'm way too cheap and we have solar panels. So I have in the past charged at a commercial charger, got charged by time rather than kilowatt hours. So yes, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking just home charging or by the kilowatt hour. So that's a good point.
I've got a question.
Good.
Yeah, so I don't have an EV yet. I'm hoping to get one by the end of this year, but I keep coming across things online and stuff that say that you should never charge your EV above 80%, and you should not let it get below like 20%. Is that like legit, or is that just like something that people are just floating around out there? They don't know what they're talking about.
It never say never. Okay. So, I mean, if you have enough range that you can work with the 80 to 20%, then that's good for most times. But if you need to go on a road trip, you need to charge to 100%, and the next charger is too far away and you're going to drop it down to 5% or 4% before you hit the charger, just do it. And it's not, a few times or even, periodically doing it, is not going to hurt you. It's if you do it all the time, if you always charge to 100% and you always run it down to 5% or something, that's probably not good. But the batteries will still last a long time, even if you do that. They'll just last longer if you stay within 20 to 80%.
Peter,
Okay.
are most of the cars coming with the ability these days to kind of set those parameters, like when you plug in at home?
Yes, well, for the max charge, yes. For the min charge, I mean, that's just, you'd have to plug it in when you get to 20%, or remember to plug it in, otherwise it's going to drop lower. So you can't, if you're still driving, you can't stop it from dropping lower than 20%. But yeah, for the charging, when you're charging up, yeah, you can set, typically you can set a limit, like say 80% or something. Yeah.
So you can plug in your car and go to bed and have it only charged to 80% if that's what you want it to do. The early vehicles you couldn't do that with. So
yeah, and some cars even allow you to time the start. So, if your electric rates drop at midnight, you can say, okay, start charging at midnight and charge to 80%. But in some cases, if you can't do that, there are poor man ways to get that to happen. You can like set up a pull timer on the electric outlet so that at midnight it turns on and then the car starts to charge. But you still have to have the car stop at 80%. Or else you have to put another timer, or you have to use the pull timer to basically cut it off at a certain time when you hope it's at about 80%.
So the Kona, I know you can choose, I think it's 100%, 90%, 80%. That's 7 different levels you can choose to.
Yeah.
And I think the Bolt EUV, the new one that probably didn't get a lot of sales before the Bolts were recalled, it too had gone to a multi-choice on the level of charging as well.
Yeah.
The one other thing I might add is that if you do know you're going to need to take a road trip and you need that full charge, don't hesitate in doing that. But if you're going to start the charge at night, try to set it up so that the charge is finished close to the time that you're leaving, so you don't let it sit at 100% for a long time. And a lot of the cars will let you set the finishing time that you want the charge to be completed by a certain time, not just the start time.
Well, that kind of raises the question: is there a problem if you plug your car in for overnight and then, like on a weekend, forget to unplug it and it's on for 24 hours, something like that?
Yeah. No, I mean, generally, as Peter was saying, if you set it up so that it doesn't charge past, as your normal charge, go past, say, 80%. That you could do that forever. But if you do want to go to 100%, and on that kind of occasion, again, don't hesitate. It's doing to 100% every day would be discouraged.
Right. Okay. I was thinking for Bruce's question too, maybe some of that, no more than 80% and no less than 20. There is, with the Bolt recall, before those batteries were fixed, they did tell you you shouldn't go higher than 80, and you should, I think it was 70 miles. You shouldn't go lower than 70 because that's when the most thermal input goes into recharging the battery. So for a long time, it was put out there as a limitation.
Speaking of recalls, did you hear about Hyundai? I think is doing a massive, hundreds of thousands of gas cars are going to be recalled, and they're asking people no longer to park them in your garage. I kid you not, or next to another car.
No, I saw that on the news this morning, but it didn't say. It just said Hyundai recalls, cars for fires.
Yeah,
and
it's after the car's off, and it can be after it's cooled down a bit. And of course, I've mentioned to many people that we had a gas car when Sandra was before Sandra that caught fire spontaneously in our garage after we'd parked it and left it for a couple hours. And Victoria gone to sleep and woke up with fire engines in the driveway.
Oh my God! Yeah.
So does this mean we all need to get on the internet and Facebook and talk and chatter about all of those really dangerous kind of internal combustion engines, and how can we possibly have them anymore?
There you go. I mean, that stuff is explosive, right?
Yeah, I haven't sent it yet, but I saw on LinkedIn somebody posted a list of questions. They own a BEV, and they were thinking of going to an ICE, and they had a bunch of questions, like, well, is it true that I have to go to a special place to fill up my car, and then I have to, it's poisonous? Yeah, well, no, because they're going to an ICE. They already have a BEV, and they're thinking of going to an ICE, and they think, oh, well, if I go to an ICE, then I can't charge it at home anymore. I have to go to this special place to fill it up. Anyway, I'll send it out. I'll send it to Guy and a couple. I was planning to send it out earlier, and it's sitting somewhere on my computer that I haven't sent it yet, but I'll send it. The other thing senior moment. I'll think of it later, and I'll tell you when so.
Bruce, did you have any other questions, since you're on the hunt for a car? We do have lots of different owners here, so if you have some specific cars you're interested in, they might have some ideas.
Well, I mean, I've driven the Bolt several times with the gig car share service here in Sacramento, and I really like it. That's kind of what I was shooting for, but then this battery thing happened, and I was like, so at this point, I'm not sure. I know that they are replacing all the batteries, but if I were to go to CarMax or someplace like that and get a used one, I'm not sure how long I would have to wait before they would get around to me, because they're replacing the batteries in hundreds of thousands of vehicles. So it could be a while before they get around to everyone. So that was kind of my concern.
There are Bolt owners here in this meeting that have not had their battery replaced yet, I think. Is that right?
Yeah. So the good news about when the batteries are replaced, especially if you had a 2017, 18, or 19, early 19, is when they're replaced, you actually get the larger battery capacity. It goes up from, I think it was 60 kilowatt battery up to 65. Is that right, Sandra? So
66.
66. Okay. So your mileage goes from, was originally 238. It goes up to 259, I guess, and that's kind of an average.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty.
Does anybody know what happened to all the new ones that were at dealerships? Did Chevrolet just come and snatch them up and take them back to the factory?
Nope,
or
they're
are
just
they?
sitting on lots. They're sitting on lots, locked up, gathering dust.
I really like the 2021 redesign. The front end and the back end I thought were really cool, but they're not around anymore. They just they
Yeah, so
disappeared.
they stopped manufacturing them because they're prioritizing all the batteries to all the existing owners who need new batteries. But yeah, I thought the same thing. I was trying to get a 22 after the battery recall, and I wasn't able to get one.
Yeah.
You guys still have a Bolt already, still.
Yeah, and then so when even with all the battery stuff, I ignored the guidance and I didn't get any of the software updates because it was like 13 vehicles out of 130,000. So I just played the odds and ignored all their charging advice and parking.
That's why they had to move to New Mexico, because they burnt their house down. But yeah, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's pretty rumors. I will say that Nissan, the Chevrolet dealer in Davis, the lot across the street is loaded with Bolts and Bolt EUVs just sitting there gathering dust. So
They're not selling them, or?
no, they're just sitting out there. I went out there to see if they'd let me do a test drive, because I was talking to Chevrolet for months about doing a repurchase and getting a Bolt EUV, but I said I'm not going to do that unless I can actually drive it first. And no dealers would do it. They just said, no, we don't have any. We just won't do that. And I think that was all liability. You know, they don't want to be one of the 13 and how many 100,000, and then it
Number
catches
14,
fire.
yeah.
But you can still buy a used Bolt. I did see, because I've been keeping my eye out. I did see a few weeks ago some used 2022 Bolt EVs and EUVs coming up on the used market.
Private party.
Oh, where did you see those?
It was either Carvana or Vroom.com.
Because I've seen like 2019s and earlier on Carvana and occasionally on CarMax, but I haven't seen anything newer than that.
Yeah, you just gotta be persistent, I guess.
Wow. Yeah, I did a short test drive in, God, it had been May, maybe April, with a Bolt EUV, and I actually kind of liked it. I liked it. The ride was better than the Bolt. And I've got a Bolt. I've had a Bolt since early 2017. But after that, when I went back to get a longer drive, nothing. So it would be nice when they open that up. So the big question too, I heard is Chevrolet going to continue making the Bolt and the Bolt EUV? Right now they're making batteries, and that's kind of an open question.
I'm hearing that they're not going to, but this is what the latest chatter I've been hearing. But they're also supposedly coming out with some sort of replacement.
Yeah, so I think the rumors are they're going to stop doing the Bolt because it's on their old battery technology, and they're going to start focusing on the Ultim batteries.
Yeah.
And then the Equinox is supposed to come out. Is it next year?
Yeah, 2023 is the Equinox. Which is
Yeah, they're
It's
supposed
supposed to be $30,000.
supposed to have some general platform that's supposed to be all cross compatible with their trucks and SUVs and small passenger vehicles and stuff. So yeah, I think they're going to phase that out in favor for this new kind of one size fits all solution.
Is there going to be a big gap between phasing out and the Equinox being available?
Yeah, about a year, I think. Right. I think they're just making batteries, and they're putting their energy into the trucks right now, and the Hummer. It's supposed to be coming out this year, and then Equinox is next year.
So, yeah.
But don't they have some crazy goal of like 30 EV models by 2025 or something like that?
Yeah. Something like that, or 23, 25. Yeah. Large number. So Ash, do you know, how does the new Ultium battery differ in the new Chevrolet? Is it?
I've been trying to track down some data on it, and I haven't really been successful with that, but I envision it being somewhat more streamlined, because it's sort of this cross compatibility, so in terms of energy density, I'm sure it probably is par with whatever is not a little bit better than what's out on the market right now, but I think it's really just the control side of it that I think they're trying to optimize. So doing more with what you currently have. So I think that's where they're trying to make this one size fits all solution. But unfortunately, I don't have too much. I've been hunting to understand what the performance figures are of that, just the cells alone. But unfortunately, it hasn't been successful in that search. But I envision it, it's like I said, if it's part of this whole cross compatibility, I assume it's got to be, power dense and energy dense at the same time, because if they're planning on putting it in a passenger vehicle versus a truck, with equal different loads or different loads in each case, and I'd be surprised to see how they're going to do that successfully. But with that in mind, I'm hungry to see what the actual data is.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen the Fisker Ocean? It looks pretty nice. I don't know if it's ever actually going to hit the market, but supposedly late 2022, and a range of 250 to 350 for the higher end one. I don't know. Looks really nice anyway.
Yeah, there should be some great competition coming up soon. Everything with the whole shift in the market now, we should see a lot more of those companies come up. But now with the Fisker in particular, when they were originally funded, I think they went through their ups and downs, and now with their new investment, I think they're just trying to compete with the Lucids. And so they're trying to carve out this high-end market, for luxury SUVs and luxury EV sedans and such, like Tesla did. So I think they're all trying to ride that coattail of sorts, with these type of vehicles. But yeah, it should be pretty promising. But if that caliber of vehicle, there should be some other competitors similar to that, in terms of fit and finish and quality and such.
So Masai just sent us a note about the Fisker. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah. It's more smoke and mirrors at this point. Yeah.
Well, Richard,
first, the Fisker Ocean or the full self-driving?
I don't know.
So Richard, we have
Vero.
we just have a couple of minutes left, and I was wondering if you'd like to say something about the steering team for DEVA and our search for people who would like to join in the planning of activities.
I would love to do that. Thanks for reminding me on that, Chris, too. So, so for these DEVA meetings, we have about a 5-member leadership board that comes up with ideas. And I think I said that at the beginning, it takes a bit of a planning to get it ready. We'd like to be doing a little bit more outreach on it, but we need some more members who want to participate with our leadership board. We've lost a couple, 2 or 3 people who moved out of town and can't participate as much as they did. And so we'd love to have you, if you'd be interested. At this point, it's mostly coming up with ideas, and sometimes it's making calls, sometimes it's just looking up information. So it's one thing that keeps this group going, is being able to kind of prepare for this. And like I said, if we get started ahead of time, it's seeing if we can get some outside speakers to come in. I really encourage you to send us a note at DEVA at Cool Davis. And I think one of our leadership board members actually had the audacity to get a job, and that's Katrina. Now she's working full time, so pulling it up. But so I'd really like encourage you to let us know and help join in. It's it's not a tremendous busy workload. It's basically getting people to sit and talk about what they'd like to see, again, what they'd like to see and what they've heard. And at this point, there's so much on the web to look up too. So Katrina, how do you like working on the board?
Oh, it's great. It's like it's an extra little bonus because the behind the scenes and the in front of the scenes and like the everything in between. And it's just great to kind of talk to more people who care. Such a small space, and then you narrow it down because it's like region locked, and so it's good to know that I'm not the only car chugging around and everybody's super friendly.
That's good. Yeah, we used to all get together at one point, but the last 2 years we had to do it over Zoom meetings, and not quite as friendly, but still.
And Robert and Barbara used to bring dinner. We missed that.
Yeah, Robert and Barbara used to bring good food and beer to some of the
yeah, well, somehow we have the food and beer all to ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just wanted to chime in that we really miss the in-person meetings. I don't know when we're going to be able to do that again, but just seeing your virtual faces make me wish to serve you dinner again. So, what do you think? Are we going to be able to resume that this year?
Yeah, I think yes. And we certainly have, Repower would welcome us back. And they have one of the best ventilated spaces in the community. And and I think we were already practicing a kind of hybrid meeting before we went into COVID by having speakers, Skype in or FaceTime in. And I think that with just a little extra tech, we could probably pull off keeping a hybrid meeting so that our lovely friends from all over the state and apparently the world can join us from wherever they are. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that would be lovely. We look forward to that.
Great. Well, now with the offer of food, it's like we're going to do it sooner than later. So, so I told Chris about this too. I think I told Barbara too. This must have been 2-3 years. Actually, that'd have been like 3 or 4 years ago. At the DEVA meeting. So Barbara and Robert brought food, and then they brought these beers, and considering it was an auto, I kept mine until I got home, but I finished it off pretty well when I got it home. So
that's why you ride your e-bike to the meeting.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
That was for an October meeting, and we thought an Oktoberfest theme with beer would be appropriate. So yeah, I'll see you at Repower Yolo next October with a beer with your name on it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I got it home, and my I think at one time my older son, who's like 30 now, over 30, but he saw it in there. I go, hey, Dave, don't touch that. That's mine. Give it away. Yeah.
Only if he comes to a meeting.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Well, that guy lives in San Diego, so we're gonna have to get better timing. But this summer, yeah, I'll get him to come up.
All right.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Let's see. Oh, I was gonna say, Masai said send a note at the next car show. He'd like to show his ID4, and I would like to see that. That would be
we would love to have you join us with your 4. That would be awesome.
Yeah, great. That was one of the great things about that last showcase was I was amazed. We got, I think almost every car that was available to buy was out there, had shown up. So, there was some were surprises. I forget who it was that came in that just kind of drove up to the show and said, I heard about this thing. Can I bring it on board? And
that was the Mach-E, right?
I think it was a Mach-E. I think
he drove by.
Yeah. And presented his car. Okay, that's all I have. Oh, think about the leadership positions, leadership board. It's a lot of fun, actually. It gives you an extra chance to sit around and talk about cars and what you actually, so many people have such good information on what's out there right now. It'd be great to have your input.
We especially need people who would like to help with communications, learning, writing up stories for DEVA, helping with promoting the meetings or our events. And so if you have any social media skills, that would be great. And then also anybody interested in helping and organizing like the ride and drive events. So that's always a great thing to have folks that are participating at that level, just talking to other owners and getting them organized for those events as we're out there.
And if you got a good EV story of a tour you took, hey, let us know and we could put it into, in fact, I think Cool Davis sends out a newsletter, but that would be a good article to put out as well.
They've also been some of our most wonderful presentations at meetings like this have been that storytelling.
Yeah.
So
we'll
like a guy's trip to Alaska and the story from the folks who went around the world. That was really very fun. So
they went around the world in an electric car?
Yeah, it was a whole group of people from lots of different countries who participated in a rally that went around the world.
Okay. Well, good. Well, with that, I think if we don't have anything else, we'll have to, we'll keep you all updated in our EV DEVA blasts about what's coming up in April and how we're doing, what events we're going to have. And then if you have questions, or better yet, answers, feel free to shoot us an email at deva@cooldavis.org. And we get those, we get copies of those, and we'll do our best to answer them. Good. Well, thanks for dropping in, and thanks for sticking around to the end. And good seeing all of you guys, and hopefully soon here we'll all sit in person someday. Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.